Give her a minute. Go to someone else. No. He's one track mind.
Good morning, one and all. Welcome back to Red's Homestead. Today is the day of gardening. The spring gardening is finally beginning. We've got kale, we've got lettuce, we've got spinach, we have kohlrabi. Everything's finally going in the ground today. It's going from the greenhouse into the ground. Before we get started planting, there's a few updates that I need to show you. Some things that you're probably wondering about because I haven't shown it in a little while. First off, let's check out these new chicks. These lovely guys and gals, we don't know yet, are now about a little over 2 weeks old, so they can endure the cold a little bit easier. Their feathers are starting to come in a little bit. About 3 weeks to 4 weeks, they'll be ready 100% to be out there if we want them to be. At about 2 weeks of age, we've started feeding them grass on top of their normal chick starting grower. If you're wondering when is a good time to actually start introducing grass or greens to your chicks when they're really young, there's two ways that I determine on when. Number of days, usually 2 weeks is about a good time to start kind of testing the waters on different feeds, see how they do. Another thing is usually about that 2 weeks, they start getting that instinctual behavior of scratching the grounds when they're looking for something to eat. Another update that we've got for you is the ducks, the little hatchlings that we were trying to incubate and hatch. Well, they did, or at least one started to hatch. We kept checking the eggs and we saw them being developed pretty well how we would want them to, according to different pictures we've seen. We've never actually fully gone through the incubation process. So after doing candlelight testing and actually seeing the embryo being formed, we kept them going. And then about that 30-day period, which seemed a little bit longer than it was supposed to. From what we read, ducks is usually about 28 days. So that could have been a factor, but one duckling had started to hatch. It poked his head through, but that's as far as it got. It did not make it. We don't know why. We think it has something to do with the humidity being too low. We don't have a nice incubator that has humidity regulators. All you can do in the one that we have is pour water in the bottom in a tray, and that's how you add humidity. Everything I've read is that ducks are harder to do than chicks, because chickens, their eggshells are not as dense as a duck egg. So 2 steps that we may or may not be doing. First step, we may try chickens in this incubator, or second, we may just wait until we can actually afford a good quality incubator. And you also might be wondering about my knee from my little chainsaw accident. Everything seems to be healing up just fine. It's been a few weeks. I just put a little butterfly bandage on it and just used it to remind myself not to bend my knee.
I watched him bend the knee.
Lastly, we have our fence building project. I'm going to show you some footage of what we did yesterday, but here's a sneak look at the final result. We finally cleared out the entire fence line. We are ready to build our fence, which is perfect timing, 1 week ahead of schedule. I go on vacation, not next week, but the week after, and I have the entire week to get this entire fence built. Curious Peacock come to see what we're doing. perfect drop. I was worried about that one because our power line is right there. So that is one thing we did not want to hit. So one down, chop this up, one to go. Well, we are exhausted, but it's done. We are 100% cleared
Well,
and ready. Yeah, it's 100%.
well, except for the where we want to do that.
Well, not for the electric fence, but for the actual physical fence, we're 100% cleared. It was a lot of work. Back hurts, but it is
nice.
open all the way down.
It's amazing what 5 feet.
I know, 5 feet makes this look like 10 times bigger. Doesn't it? It's crazy. What do you think you're gonna do? So on to gardening. First, take a little look at what we did yesterday. We weren't gonna start yesterday, but Shannon got it in her head and she wanted to start. So we started. We took a little break for about an hour, just relaxing, and it was cold in the shade. I had to wear a jacket.
Give her a minute. Go to someone else. No. He's one-track mind.
Shannon's become an expert of Giardia. I guess it's a big thing going around at her work. You see a lot of things when you work at a vet that you don't normally see on a day-to-day basis with your own pets.
Tell them what you do when you run out of hay for your rabbit.
What do you do when you run? Oh, yeah. So we ran out of hay. We, yeah, just ran out of hay. Waiting to find a source probably this year. But what she does is she runs and goes all over the property, cutting fresh grass. Fills up a 5-gallon bucket, feeds the animals.
This is the highest batch. I'm going to the highest batches because I refuse to mow until all the flowers flower, all the spring flowers.
So you take a kitchen knife?
Yes. This is why we can't find any steak knives. I think we have 2 that we can use now.
Oh, Lord. What we'll be doing here in a little bit, planting all the plants in here. I'm giving them one little soak.
We'll do the broccoli
So
here.
to keep it from bolting, let's do it on this side.
I agree.
Or like the far side.
Yes.
So the shade will hit it quick.
Okay, I agree.
And then we'll leave this side open for other planting.
Did you highlight this?
Her bush.
This was
Oh.
supposed to be like a, I thought
A one-time
it was
deal?
a one and done. Bee butterfly mix that I planted too late. I think a couple flowered.
Yeah.
It never died.
It never died. It went all through winter. Single digits.
It's just like a
And it's like a massive patch.
Look, I got
of-
one bloom finally.
Yeah, I saw that over there the other day. So we were going to call it a day. and not doing anything. It's like 6 o'clock at night. Sun is getting low. Sun's getting real low. But Shannon decided that doesn't sound like a good idea. We're gonna plant. Yeah, so this bed, you can see right there, is mulched with meat chicken feathers. Works very good. Look at that.
So the reason we're trying it over here, if you don't have me on time lapse,
Nope.
is because it's just not, the sun is just not as mean over here.
It's not. So
I think.
over here, it's all morning sun, and then it gets sun up to about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And then once the heavy of summer gets here, it gets it to maybe 2:30. So it doesn't get that nasty heat of the day. So I think the cold weather crops are going to do a lot better over here than they did over there in our normal regular garden.
Because I think right now we're currently 0 and 2 for cold weather crops. Like we have not been successful with
except
cold weather
for
crops.
Swiss chard.
And some lettuce. At the old property, we were able to keep lettuce all summer long,
Yeah.
or at least most of it, because we had it for the rabbits. But here, no.
So here we are. Most of the lettuce, the kale, and broccoli has been planted along our blackberry row. We did this purpose because right now you get full morning sun and it doesn't get hit with the heat of the afternoon sun. So we're thinking this is a good place to do our cold weather crops, because maybe, just maybe this time this year, they won't bolt just as they're starting to grow. On to the second half of our gardening is finishing the last of what I have here in the greenhouse for the cold weather plants. I have kohlrabi, I have my peas, I have some cabbage, I still have some spinach that I need to transplant, and Swiss chard. I also have Swiss chard. I want to empty all of these out and get them into the ground, because we shouldn't have any more 20-degree mornings. We might have some close to freezing like it was this morning, but it won't be 20 plus degrees where everything will die off. And using the same principle of what I'm doing over in the blackberry bush, we're going to use this bed right here for the cold weather crops, because it faces the house right here and the afternoon sun comes this way, and the house is going to protect it from that heat of the afternoon, but it'll still get about 8 hours of morning sun. And then once I'm finally done moving all the cold weather crops, I can go inside into the greenhouse and start working on the summer crops, the tomatoes and peppers that we have growing. Those need to be repotted. So all the pots that I'm gonna be getting from in here, from planting all the cold weather crops, I'll be able to repot my summer crops and have them start to grow and be ready to be planted here in a few weeks. So now that I got all the cold crops actually in the garden, I can use the new space and the new cups and containers to get on my tomatoes. So these are all my tomatoes and peppers now been repotted into larger pots so they can grow. because nights are still getting into 30s and 40s. They can't even go outside in the greenhouse yet, so I have to keep them indoors.